All right, so this is a very, very important piece that we need to do here, because what we tend to do and what I see a lot of people doing when they're making ice cream is when they're just saying, well, I just got to add the sugar to the egg yolks and that's it, we're done. Then I scald the cream, bring it up to 175 as I mentioned, and then you add it to it. Well, that's kind of true, yes, but there's a big difference between what's going to be a very successful flavored ice cream and a very successful textured ice cream versus something that's not going to be, we'll say at the same level. And when you go to a great dairy and you taste that ice cream and you say, wow, why is it that flavor is so amazing? Well, that's why, because they've taken the time to do those things. So there's fat and there's water in egg yolks, right? As an emulsifier, it doesn't want to emulsify. It doesn't like the idea of it at all. It thinks it's a bad idea to emulsify. When you're mixing an egg together and you're finding it and you're just whipping and whipping and it's like it takes forever. Well, there's a reason. It's fat and it's water, so it doesn't want to be together. So this is why, what we're going to do is we're going to spend a long time, and I'm not going to show this the entire video, but I'm going to show you the beginning process, which is this, what you see now, versus what you see at the end. And a lot of people would say, and I've seen a lot of young chefs that say, okay, well, I've just mixed it. You told me to mix it, chef, and it's mixed. So now I'm going to add my sugar right to it and we're done. Well, no, there's a process. It needs to be a lot longer than that. You need to whip this for a longer period of time. And I will tell you, it's the secret of eggs, right? So if you take, if you're trying to make the perfect eggs, if you take your eggs and you put them into a KitchenAid mixer, or you take the time to really whip them, you're going to find that when you add them to the pan, you're making an omelet. The omelet is going to come out fluffy, and it's going to have like a French omelet. And that's one of the key things a lot of chefs will do for chef apprentices that are interviewing for positions. A lot of times in positions that we were looking for when we were kids, we would go in and the chef would ask us to make an omelet, and that's why they would ask us that, because they know that if you know the process of how to make a great omelet, then you know how the science behind it works. So we'll start whisking, and I'll get back to you guys and show you exactly after I add the sugar what I'm looking for the volume wise. Okay. All right, so recording on your own is a lot of fun. You get to kind of chill out and relax. The hard part is, though, that you have to move the camera on all different angles. So hopefully this angle is okay and you guys can see what I'm going to do next, which is I'm going to go ahead and split this vanilla bean pod and extract all of the seed out and then add it right here to the cream and the milk mixture. Okay, so simple, very simple thing. You're just going to take the vanilla bean, try to level it all off nice and flat. Okay, there's usually a piece right here that's a little bit of a turn to it. I usually hold it there, and I take it and I just use my knife, the tip of my knife, to go right down all the way to the end. I leave it intact. That's why I don't exactly go right through all the way. And then what I do is I just go along the line here, and I'm going to move this up to the camera so you can see it. Hopefully, and there's all your vanilla bean seed. Okay, so we're going to put that right in. I missed my friend Carrie doing all the videoing with me, and Kim Gallo and Chef Dan Deckert, but we'll struggle along. And we pop that in, and as I mentioned earlier, you're going to take this whole piece now and you're going to add it back in here also. Now, if you decide that, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to just take this and I'm going to add it to some sugar and create some vanilla sugar, that's another great way to do it. So you could certainly do that as well. Alright guys, so as we talked about earlier in the video, kind of what we're looking for, which is the volume increase of the egg yolks, the sugar, and you can see we have whipped this a long time to get this to increase in volume, but also the color changes to almost, it goes like from a very yellowy color, it changes almost to white. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and then the volume increases almost doubles. Same thing when you spin ice cream. When you start off with a quart of ice cream from a base, you're going to end up with probably 2 to 2.25, 2.5 quarts of ice cream when it's done because of the sheer churning and then it just it doubles in volume. So then we've also got the cream mixture, and milk mixture, which has the vanilla bean in it. And also it has the vanilla bean extract, and we've added a small bit of extract as well because I just wanted to make sure that the flavor was great, but I just needed a little bit more lift, so I added some extract as well to it. One other tip I will tell you, if you look at any recipe, and you can go on to foodnetwork.com, all recipes, there's a million search engine places, that when you start going into a search engine and look at recipes for French vanilla ice cream, you're going to see a multitude. What my advice to you would be, when you look at the ratio, what it says for egg yolks. Now, think about this. A lot of these recipes that I go by were around eggs that were a lot larger. And everybody, when you go to the store, you're not always seeing, it says extra large eggs, it says large eggs, it says whatever. I mean, so there's always kind of a fluctuation. That's why a lot of times pastry chefs and chefs in general will use volume by grams, because they want an exact amount of the volume, okay? So they don't always say, well, 4 egg yolks. They'll go, we need, X amount of grams, all right? Ounces are obviously acceptable, but you'll always find that pastry chefs and bakers will usually work off of grams because of the accuracy, okay? So with that said, I mean, I usually always do, so if it calls for 8 egg yolks, I'll always say, well, add 4 more. It's not going to hurt the recipe. In actual fact, it's probably going to make it better. So by adding a few extras, it's just going to make the ice cream more rich, there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a good thing. Okay, so that's my advice on that, would be just be on the safe side, because you just don't know what the size are. So now when we're going to go ahead and do this, I usually will put a little towel underneath the pot, because I do not want it to be on my table and damage the table. So again, we're going to add a little bit at a time at the beginning, because you just want to, it's kind of creating a liaison. We do not want to start to curdle the egg yolks. So adding just a little bit at a time. And that's that. Put that on the side. And now we've gone enough, and I can just go ahead and add the entire mixture. And there should be no sticking in the bottom of the pot. That's when you know you've brought the temperature up correctly. If you go too high and you're too aggressive and you walk away and you end up boiling it, you might want to think about 2 things. Strain out the pot and taste it to make sure it didn't burn on you. So that's very important, okay? There's nothing worse than adding that to this mixture and realizing afterwards you scorched it. We don't want to do that. Okay, the next thing when we come back, we're going to show you, kind of the method. I'll do a quick video of when we're stirring it in the pan. Again, when you're doing that, I go figure 8s, so it just feels that motion of going around with a spatula, and I can feel kind of where it's how it's all happening, and where how it's developing. And you want it to be 170 degrees. Again, measurement-wise is great, but I always say, my feel is what I've always trusted, to go by feel. If you go too far, you'll see it'll actually curdle. And if you use a pan that has a very thick base to it, you'll find that all the heat's carried at the bottom. So there's a good chance that the minute you add this mixture into that pot, in minutes, seconds actually, it'll start to curdle. So you don't want to do that. Okay?
All right, so you can see this is the consistency that we're looking for the base. It's got to 170 degrees. And the last check we will do right now is, as you can see, this is what we call nappe, which means it's coating the back of the spoon. And that's it.
Alright guys, so we have left the ice cream base in the refrigerator overnight, and this is the consistency that we have now. It's really thick. Got my ice cream machine. This is the wearing, like I said on the video prior, ice cream machine. And we're going to go ahead now and I've already loaded some into the ice cream machine. Put on the lid, and we're just going to go ahead and spin it. And this will spin. I'll just keep an eye on it, get the consistency I'm looking for, take it out, make sure that the container that I use is a brand new container, or at least a container that has absolutely no smell in it at all from something that you've used prior, like spices or something like that. You want to avoid anything like that. You want to make sure that the container smells of nothing. Okay, so that way your ice cream will not take on that flavor. That's not what you want to do. And then once it's churned and the consistency, I like the consistency. You can add more salt if you feel like it needs a little bit more salt, or to bring up the flavor. Don't forget we already had salt in the recipe, and then just place it in the freezer, and it's ready to be eaten. It can be eaten right away, right out of the ice cream machine. Okay, have fun, enjoy.